There was once a girl named Tilly who loved to scare herself. She begged her parents to let her have her bedroom up in the attic because it was the scariest room in the house.
One night, as Tilly was lying in bed, she heard a strange voice call out, "Tilly, I'm coming to get you." Chills went up and down her spine.
But Tilly loved it.
The next night, she heard, "Tilly, I'm on the..." What first excited me about telling a story, and excites me to this very day, is the looks of the listeners as I tell a story. Tilly, I'm in your room.
Tilly wanted to scream, but nothing came out. When you tell a story, you really give of your inner self. There's always this hush that comes over the audience, and you realize that they are taking the story that you have told and they're creating their own story.
Human beings really have story hardwired into them. We have story in us, it's in our genes. Kids do it naturally.
Once children can feel a story and listen and learn to love a good story, it just makes their day.
Phantoms, he bragged, you have got to be kidding.
There's drama created, and their whole body is put into motion. So from their tips of their toes to their fingertips, I mean, their entire body becomes part of the story.
She was as pale as snow, as clear as crystal. She looked him right in the eyes.
Each year, every time I work with children telling stories, I'm just amazed at the success that I see.
The ability to observe people, see how your language is affecting them, to modify what you're doing, makes the storytelling experience to be an invaluable one.
I think it makes them more informed readers because they have had a part in making a story their own.
Martha and Mitch have given us an amazing collection of stories over here. After you've read at least 15 different stories, from this list of 15, you're going to select your top 3 favorites.
Students have to have a great selection of stories because the story that they pick has to be one that they really, really enjoy. Because every student wants to have a story that they just love to tell.
Do you remember that? No kidding. This is the one.
It's very important that every student feels successful. And so you want to have a real variety of stories. You want to have some that are very simple and short. And then you want to have some that are much more complicated. You want to have some that are scary, some that are purely for entertainment. And of course you want to have some in there that are more poignant, that teach lessons, those stories that explain something about the world.
For hundreds and hundreds of years, a folktale has been passed from one person to another, and we're lucky that sometime in history someone finally wrote it down, or we might not know it today.
Now when that story was told a long time ago from one person to another, was it the same every time? No, not at all.
We try to impress upon the students right from the beginning that they are not supposed to tell the stories as it is written down on the page. These are stories that have evolved for hundreds and hundreds of years. We encourage them to make the story their own and to tell it in their own words.
Now your job is going to be to look at your story that you've selected and then make a series of pictures to remind you of the important parts. It's meant to be simple to remind you of the things that happen in the story.
One of the first things that we have students do is to make a story map or outline. That way they can get away from the words. They can think of that story as a series of pictures rather than a series of just words.
This is the story of Sun and Wind, an Aesop fable. Sun and Wind were having an argument over who was the strongest. "I'm the most powerful," said the Wind. No, I'm the most powerful. I think it's really important for the teacher to have a story prepared to tell the class. Not only are they delighted with it, but it reminds the teacher, as you go through the process of learning the story and figuring out your facial expressions and hand gestures and have those same feelings of nervousness that the kids will have, it reminds you about all the things that are going to be happening as the children start this unit, and it's fun too. The kids love hearing a teacher tell the story. The moral of the story is, gentleness is better than force. Thank you.
If students are going to be successful at storytelling, they need to have someone model it for them.
Fox decided that he too should pay his respects to the king of the jungle. But Fox did not trust Lion. Instead of going into the cave, Fox stopped at the entrance of it and yelled, "How are you feeling, King Lion?"
In some schools where we've done storytelling for a number of years, there are older students who have been storytellers and love to come back to the younger grades and tell their stories.
"I told you to come in." "I'm sorry," replied the fox, "but I will not be coming to visit you. I see many animal tracks going into the cave, but none coming out."
We have traditionally had our storytelling unit a big part of our third grade curriculum. A wonderful benefit of having had storytelling in our district for so many years, we are able to invite back storytellers from other years, middle school students and high school students and beyond, who still have that wonderful storytelling ability, whose storytelling ability has only gotten better. And this is a great model for the third graders to see. This is a true talent and ability that carries on through life. It doesn't end with third grade.
It was a beautiful bracelet. She put it on. She opened up the second package, and inside was a golden bracelet. So she put it on too. And she opened up the third package. This was the last one. And inside was a silver bracelet. Storytelling in third grade kind of started everything. I've been throwing myself at theater and music and other artistic things ever since then, and that's really what started all of it. It was the most exciting thing I had ever done at that point. As an art form, it connects you to people more than anything else I can think of. Storytelling opened me up to communication as an art form and communication as a way of life, and I'm really, really thankful for it. And she came back with more bracelets, enough to cover Ellen's whole left arm. But Ellen still wasn't satisfied. She reached out her hand and said, "More!"
One thing that storytelling does in the classroom is it can create a wonderful community in that classroom. Students learn how important it is to work together, to help each other, to be kind to each other. And if you create that sense of community in your classroom, it's going to go a long way to helping you teach all sorts of different things.
The man thought how nice it would be to have some company when he...
Right from the beginning, students understand that there needs to be a real sense of safety because it involves a lot of risk-taking. It's so important that everyone in the group support one another. How many of you are nervous about telling your stories? Okay, look at that. People are nervous.
The worst thing that could happen is that I got so nervous that I forgot the story. That I might mess up on some hard words. I felt scared. I felt nervous the first time I told the story, and my stomach felt nervous too. I'm afraid that they won't like it. I felt nervous that I might forget my lines or my words. The worst thing that would happen to me would probably be if I stuttered so much that I fainted.
Understanding how potentially frightening it can be the first time the child gets up to tell the story. Before we do that, we do a lot of modeling within the classroom on what is expected from the audience and how the audience needs to be really tuned in to all the things that storyteller is doing a good job on, because that should be their first focus.
Hi, my name is Chandler, and I'm going to tell you a story called Oh, That's Good, No, That's Bad, an American folk tale. When I do thumbs up, you're going to say, oh, that's good. Why don't you all try? Oh, that's good.
One of the things that really takes away your nervousness is to be well prepared. The more they practice their story, the more they feel comfortable telling it, the less nervous they'll become.
Hi, my name is Lehman, and I'll be telling the story of Be Careful What You Kick, a story from North Carolina. One day, a man was walking home. He passed some houses, the church, in the graveyard.
Students can practice in many ways at home. They can have a family member listen to them or several family members. In fact, some families seem to make it a whole family experience. And so you get feedback.
Whatever you do, don't ever kick a ghost. Who's got my golden arm? You've got it.
This is the 14th year we've been doing storytelling in my classroom, and every year there are surprises. You never can tell from first looking at your class who's going to truly excel at this, who's going to be the most resistant. How much would you feel comfortable doing?
At the beginning of storytelling, I felt scared and nervous because I had to get up in front of lots of people and tell a story.
When you have someone who's very reluctant, one of the things that works very well is to have an expanding audience, gradually expanding, and actually we do this for everyone.
Face the wall. Do it.
The idea is that you first are going to practice the story by yourself, perhaps practicing just to the wall or to an imaginary audience. Then practice with a partner, either someone at home or someone in class. Then to a larger group, perhaps of 3 or 4. By the time students are getting to that point, they're gaining so much confidence. And it's in these little steps, these little increments.
Hi, my name is Erica, and I'm going to tell you a story.
One thing we found works really well is this activity called the Virginia Reel. You have 2 lines of students who line up facing one another. One line is the tellers, the other are the listeners. And you give them 2 minutes, and then they move down the line and have a completely new partner. It feels like a game. It's really fun.
Hello, my name is Nastya, and I am going to...
We work with many students who English is not their first language. When they tell a story, it's such a fun way of using a new language and also getting feedback from listeners.
Oh, well, we'll never get out of here alive. So he sank to the bottom of the pot, and that was the end of it.
The students that I work with are all from non-English speaking countries. Even though these students come into the school with tremendous challenges, storytelling allows them to cut right through these challenges, and they could get immediate response from their teachers, from their classmates. There's nothing that gets in the way.
The frog was thrilled to be alive, and skipped happily back to the pond. If you ever find yourself in trouble, don't give up. It pays to keep on kicking.
A goal of a classroom teacher is always to create a sense of community and cooperation within the classroom, and storytelling enhances that in so many ways. Kids come to depend on each other for constructive, helpful feedback. They depend on each other to be a good, respectful audience, and this carries over into all other aspects of the school day.
One day, Fox was walking along thinking about how brave and clever he was. When all of a sudden, these big dogs started chasing him. He ran as fast as he could with the dogs close at his heels. Then he spotted a cave and dashed into it.
Now, do you see how Josiah started out that story really strongly?
Yeah.
Right from the first sentence, he was using expression on his face and in his hands, and that made us just want to listen to that story. When you are helping a student, first you need to give the teller very specific praise about things they've been doing. I love the way you used your hands when you tell that story, or I love the expression when that person was angry. Then, if the student wants, then you can start to give them some constructive things they can work on. Josiah, just think about adding those movements. When you add what happens when you start to move your body is that everything comes alive. When Josiah just he always had good expression, but when he just kept his hands to his side, his expression was like that. When he started to use his hands, suddenly his expression lit up. And did you see what happened when Josiah went around and told everyone you were bad tales? He was mad.
The role of a coach is to try and help the teller find his or her own way of telling the story. A little perkier, like you did. It's so valuable to help them find their own answers. That's one way of doing it. You may come up with something that's different. I'm not saying this is the right way. I'm just giving you something that may help you find your way of telling it. So try me frog. Try show me frog again.
Who are you? I'm Snake. Who are you?
The whole process of storytelling is almost immeasurable in the sense of confidence and security children have in taking on a challenge that many of them don't think they can handle and succeeding at it so completely.
No way, said Little Pig. Go home, said the cows. No way, said Little Pig. Go home, said the sheep. No way, said Little Pig.
Storytelling night is always a wonderful experience. They are so excited to be able to get up and tell their story, and what we seem to see year after year is, even though we've seen wonderful storytelling up to that point, we see the best of the best that night.
Oh, that's good. Not really, you see. The party was supposed to be in New York, show was in California. Oh, that's bad. Not so bad. Luckily, a friend insisted.
Students see peers in totally different ways because of their expertise with storytelling. They see skills and abilities in classmates that they didn't realize were there.
But what was more was her left arm was made of solid gold, from her shoulder all the way down to the tips of her fingers. He married her at once.
The most fun part of storytelling was getting up in front of the audience and hearing them clap afterward. It made me feel happy.
You got it!
They are learning lifelong skills, everything from public speaking, using expression, the sense of storytelling that actually comes alive in their writing.
One evening, a man was pulling weeds in his garden when he found a big hairy toad.
My daughter really felt that this story was her own. When you take a child at this age and you give them the opportunity to experience the fun of being in front of people as opposed to the fear, it gives them a lifelong lesson.
I see storytelling as something that can be in the center of many of the things that we need to cover in the classroom. Something special to build around.
Why, you did nothing. You just sat there, the big dogs grabbed and nipped at you. The most fun part of storytelling was storytelling night because I like telling my story in front of big groups. I felt proud that I had told my story to so many people. All of a sudden, he had a brilliant idea. He said, I know, I'll ask for salt. Everyone needs salt.
The beauty of it to me as a classroom teacher was that each child had a chance to shine.
When they were climbing out of the river, they were still arguing. It was your fault that we fell in the river. It was your fault that we fell. Well, now I feel really, really great and proud of myself. And storytelling night was easy and fun.
Who's got my hairy toe? Who's got my hairy toe? You win!